is thrown vertically upward from the top of a tower, 60 meters height of tower is equal to 60 meters high. That's the height of tower where the stone was, from where the stone was thrown above the ground with a velocity of 20. So the velocity it was thrown with was 20 meters per second. It was thrown at the top of this tower with a velocity of 20 meters per second. How long will it take for the stone to return and hit the ground, and at what velocity? So what I do is to get the time of the stone reaching to the highest height, because if you get the time it reaches from the highest height from the top of the tower, that time you can use first equation to get that time he used to reach the highest height, which we have at that highest height. Of course the velocity is 0 at the highest height, because the other height start coming down. So to get the time he reached to reach that, I can use this equation: 0. Initial velocity was 20 minus, because against gravity, 10t. The time he used to get to the highest point, the time he used will be 2 seconds. 2 seconds, that's 20 divided by 10. 2 seconds he used to reach the highest height, at which this velocity would be 0. So the height he reached from the top of the tower, the highest height he reached from the top of the tower, I can use the third equation to get the highest height. The height reaches at the top, from the top of the tower. So if I use this equation, at that time, as we have said, v will be 0, because that is the highest area it gets to. You have to stop, and if you stop, the velocity is 0. So it's equal to 20. 20 is the initial velocity squared, minus 2 times 10. That's acceleration to gravity. Then s is that height. S is the distance up. So from there we can get s. That's the highest height he reached from the top. The highest height he reached from the top of the tower, which is s is equal to 20 squared divided by 20, which is equal to 20 meters. So the highest height he reaches from the top of the tower is 20 meters. The highest height he reaches from the top of the tower. So the highest height reached from the ground will be 20 plus 60, because the tower was already 60 meters high. He now throw the ball from the, stone from the height of 60 meters up. So the height from the top where the stone reach to the ground will be 20 plus 60, which is equal to 80 meters. 80 meters. That's the height. From the highest height the stone reach to the ground will be 80 meters. That's 20, which is the height it reaches from the from the top of the tower. From top of the tower to where it stops, down to the ground, will be 20 plus 60, which is 80 meters. So the time to reach ground from the highest height now will be the time for that distance from the top, which is 80. I can use the second equation, which is this second equation. So when he reached the highest height, he's now trying to come down. We want to know the time it will use to get to the ground from the highest height of 80. At that period, the velocity will be 0, and they start coming down. So u will be 0. That height is 80. Is equal to, this is already 0, because the velocity will be 0. It's trying to come down. It has already lost velocity and want to come down. So it will be equal to half times 10 times the time t squared. That is the time. That's what we want to get, the time we use to get to the ground. So if we have that t squared is equal to t squared. If we work this, we get that t squared is equal to 16. This implies that t squared is equal to 16, which means t, the time he used to from the highest height, is 60, square root of 16, which is 4. So the highest height is 4 seconds. The highest time he used to move from the highest to the ground is 4 seconds. So the total time for the stone to return to the ground That's the time you use from the tower, top of the tower up and come down will be 4 plus 2, because he used 2. 2 was the time he used to get to the highest height, plus the time he used to reach the ground, which is 4. 2 plus 4, that is 6. The time from the top of the tower to the highest, he used 2 seconds. Look at it. From the toppest point of the tower to the ground, he used 4 seconds. So the whole time he used right from the hand of the thrower up and to the ground will be 2 plus 4, which is 6 seconds. He used 2 seconds to move from the top of the tower to the highest point. Use 4 seconds to move from the highest point to the ground. The time he used from the hand of the thrower to the ground is 4 plus 2, which is 6 seconds. Now, the question says we should find the velocity he used to hit the ground. It is simple. We can use because the time he hit the ground from the top, u will be 0. We can use the first one. V is equal to u. U is 0. 0 plus 80. A normally is 10. Times that time he used to get to the ground is equal to 0 plus 80, which is 10, times 4. V is equal to 40 meters per second. The velocity used to hit the ground is 40 meters per second. So the thing has been solved. The question says a stone is thrown vertically up from the top of a tower 60 meters above the ground. From 60 meters above the ground, it was thrown up with a velocity of 20 meters per second. That's the initial velocity. How long when they now get to the toppest place, the final velocity will be 0. How long did it take for the stone to return to the thrower and hit the ground? That's to return to the ground. And at what velocity did he do that? So we first of all got the time he used to get to the highest point using the first equation. We get the time. Then we now get the time he used to land from that highest height to the ground, which is 4. Then the time he used from the hand of the thrower to the ground will be 4 plus from plus 2, which gives us 6. Then with that the time of 4 seconds he used from the highest top to the ground, we can get the velocity with which he hit the ground using the first equation. Because now the u will be 0, initial velocity. 10 times time of 4, that gives 40. So we'll get 40 meters per second. That's the velocity with which he hit the ground. So let me now repeat the question. A stone is thrown vertically up from the top of a tower 60 meters above the ground with a velocity 20 meters per second. How long will it take for the stone to return and hit the ground? And at what velocity? That's the question. So, and this is, we got the time it we used to get to the ground from the hand of the thrower and hit the ground after going up, and the velocity with which he hit the ground, which is 40 meters per second.